Hey guys, what is up and welcome to another episode of League Tips. In this one I'm going to be talking about a very important tip that I pretty much learned myself as I've been playing more and more middle lane throughout my experiences, and this is an extremely important one. I really feel like it's going to help you a lot if you understand this tip. Also, please remember to throw in a like if this tip did help you or if you found it very useful. So the purpose of this tip is you, as the middle laner, are going to be able to read certain signs that will help you determine where the enemy jungler has started from. This is obviously extremely important because it will give off a lot of ideas of where the enemy jungler could be, and as well it'll give your jungler great opportunities to try and maybe counterplay. There are three major signs that I will be covering with you guys that will help you decide this, and one of them is being if they started on their own jungle, whether it's the red or blue, if they invaded your red or blue and how to determine if they did, and the third one will be a dead tell, which I will explain later. So of course there are three things that we can look for. One is if the enemy jungler started on their own jungle, but which side. Number two is if they invaded your jungler and on which side. Or three, of course, this is going to be the one where there's going to be a dead tell, which I will discuss soon. The first picture you're looking at right now is pretty much the path that the enemy mid laner or even yourself will most likely take after assisting your jungler in either the blue or the red buff, right? Second you assist them, you go back into lane, and this is pretty much where it'll come from. So if you look for the pathing of this from your enemy mid laner, you can instantly assume that, okay, if he came from the left arrow, then I'm pretty sure the jungler started at the blue buff. If he came from the right arrow, I'm pretty sure their enemy jungler started at their red buff. And of course the red arrow showing the other path that you will look for if you're playing on the bottom left team. Pretty much exact same thing as the white arrows, just on the opposite side. The second tell will show the pathing of the middle laner that they will take back into the lane if they decided to invade your jungle, and also which buff they decide to invade, the blue or the red. If you're playing the blue team, which is the bottom left team, and you see the enemy mid laner comes back into lane using the top arrow's path, then clearly they have invaded your blue buff. And vice versa, if you see them entering from the bottom arrow's path, then they most likely invaded your red buff. And here you go, once again for demonstration purposes, this is the opposite side of what the path they would take if they invaded your buff. So if you're playing the top right team, these are the two paths, top one for red buff, bottom one for blue buff if they invaded your jungle. Then there's the third tell, which unfortunately is the dead tell. This makes the tip absolutely useless because some mid laners, like maybe a Zed or a Talon, cannot assist their jungler, whether it's on their side or if they invaded. If this happens, then obviously they will stick into the lane, and they will stick there from the very beginning, and they will not come back from any path, and this will pretty much give you no signs as to where the enemy jungler started based off of this alone. Alright, let's look at some live examples. So in this case, we're pretending that we are Zed, we're middle laning, the game just started, we see Lux come from that path right there. And what does this tell us? This is the first tell that I talked about. If she came in from that path, they started at the blue. Vice versa, if she came from the bottom area, they would have started at red. Now let's take a look at an invading example. So we're pretending that we're the LeBlanc here. We have no idea. Let's just pretend we have no idea where they are, even though you saw for a brief second. We're laning, we're doing our thing, and then we're looking for the middle laner. Where is he? Where could he be coming from, right? There's no signs, nothing. He comes from that bush over there. So clearly that states that he came from our blue buff, because if he did not come from the blue buff, if he came from his own red buff, he would have took the other path that I mentioned, which is the top path right above that brush. So since he came from that area, that instantly tells him that, you know what, they probably invaded and they're probably at our blue. If he came from the bottom bush river, then most likely they invaded our red because this is the shortest path. And then finally an example of the dead tell. So in this case we're the Lux from the first example. We're coming back into lane, we've helped our jungler, but the Zed, he's in lane already. Clearly he did not help the jungler, and we have no idea where the enemy jungler can start. So unfortunately in this situation like this tip is completely irrelevant and flawed. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed that tip, and I really hope it helped you out quite a bit. Don't forget to use it in your next game when you play middle lane. Please check out the first episode, League Tips, of where I feature Zed as well. I have a really cool rank struggle of me showcasing a really interesting game with Varus, so check that out as well. Once again, hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and I'll see you next time. Peace!